Hello, and welcome back to episode 13 of the Werewub Podcast with myself, Ryan Levine, joined here by Mitchell Cimino, Calvin Harrigal, aka Wub, and Travis Tangeman. Today we have a bunch of stuff to cover. We have the November ban and errata list that went into effect today. It was posted last week, but is officially in effect today. The 2026 organized play announcements. We're going to cover prizing specifically first, and then we're going to talk about the events. There's been quite a bit of controversy about that, so we will be doing our best to cover that, I suppose. And we also got the last of the Guilty Gear Strive cards, the set that I think it has been no secret has definitely been my most anticipated set of the year. Since like the first cards got revealed, I've kind of been all on board on this. And I think all four of us generally think this is one of the good ones. We will be talking about the final ones that came out. So I guess first let's just do Banlist stuff, right? Because that's the most important. That'll probably be like the bulk of the thing. So I loved it.
We did it.
Overall, I loved it. But let's everybody give their broad stroke thoughts, and then let's go like card by card. Right.
So my broad thoughts on the ban list are: it is very, very good. In terms of like making sure not to like kneecap every deck that was good and then leave space for like some heinous stuff in the ashes. I think it's like good sweeping bans, sweeping ban, to like make sure that the format isn't just like, okay, now this is the new top dog immediately. I think that after playing some games against Deviljin, the people's initial thoughts were like, oh, well, camo counter is still the problem card. And it is, but you're not dying on turn 2 every time now.
Yeah, that's fair. I am a fan of this list. I think that there were like maybe one or two more cards that I would have liked to have seen on it. Like good example being Unyielding. I think that we hit sweeping for having this effect of like it warps the game and deck building around it, and I think that Unyielding has that same issue where like Unyielding exists in the format. You have to build your deck in a way that it functions if you play against a deck that is playing that card, because you run into that card and you build out, you lose if you don't have cancels for it. So like good example being like Deku or like flashes for it. But if you don't plan for it, it sucks. And it just kind of is like you have to play with this card in mind. And I'm not a big fan of those cards having control over the meta, even when they're bad.
Okay, that is, I was going to probably have a little bit of pushback against some of what you said, but the last thing you said, I do agree that it's like even when a card like Unyielding isn't like a fantastic card in the current metagame, you still have to warp your deck around it, because if you do not, it is like so backbreaking and borderline auto loss when these insane cards like this just pop up in a situation where like even if most of the decks in the room are not losing to Unyielding, if your opponent just put that in their deck, then you can just explode for no reason. And they're just incredibly high variance cards, in my opinion.
It's kind of similar to in like specifically the Yu-Gi-Oh ban lists and stuff like that, when they ban cards just like preventatively or because this is never going to be good in anything that's not cheese, right? Like we're hitting barrier statues just because no one's using them. No one's using these ones specifically right now, but if they ever do in the future, it will be a problem. So let's just get rid of it. Like similarly to that, it's like if Unyielding Destruction becomes too good, it is broken and people are abusing it. And if it's not good, it's still annoying and people abuse it. So like, I don't know. I would be down to see that one go, but it's not like it was somehow Unyielding Destruction was card number like 4 or 5 that I wanted banned.
Yeah, I think that one you would probably need to take a look at what Deku looks like in a world without that card and potentially with underrepresented Godzilla. Which is sort of its own thing. Like we don't know, right? Yeah. This ban list was really surprising to me, primarily because I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but since the like big organizational changes, like the new card backs, switching off MHA only and everything, I don't think we've banned an expensive card like almost ever. Like we have almost always hit something that was like Twisting Azure was a couple bucks.
Risky Encounter.
Risky Encounter was the one.
Risky Encounter was like
yes.
$30, $40.
But this is like it's kind of, you know, an ugly truth. Like one of our friends was like, I hate that you're talking about this, but it's like you kind of have to acknowledge it, right? Like at a certain point when you ban enough expensive things, people are going to be pretty upset about that because, you know, all of us who had sweeping daggers lost, you know, 160 $200, maybe more depending on how much we spent on them. And that's just one of the ultra rares. There were 3. So like I am happy that they made these decisions because these cards had a really big impact, and then like Sweeping Daggers getting banned allows us to play with so many more cards that were just sitting there for us because we would get it taken by sweeping one time and say, that was so unpleasant that I'd rather just do something else. I'd rather just not run Patchwork Baby or Confrontation or any of these other moves. And the fact that we get to play with them now feels so freeing. Like it's incredible. So like I really applaud them for making such a bold choice and like hitting these cards that potentially could cause backlash because people do have monetary investment in a lot of them. Yeah, and I still think that like overall these changes are like fantastic. Like, you know, unyielding is definitely its own question or whatever, but I think Nine Titans is the perfect hit for backup decks because it deals with the ones that are the less pleasant backup decks, we'll say, like Hanj in particular, I think was just kind of a really kind of an outlier in the backup strategies. It sort of just played its own game, didn't care what you were doing, and was extremely high burst damage and everything. And I still think you can play things like War Chief, and that deck looks more or less the same, and that's like a good thing because I think that deck played more normal universes with your opponent. So like I really like these targeted hits. Teaming is a fantastic one. We've complained about it for a long time, I think. So no, there's like I could go on and on about this ban list, but I think this is like one of the boldest moves they've made in a while, and I really like what they did for sure.
Yeah. So I
to your
one
point
thing
about
I was
gonna say to your point about expensive cards. I was doing some like quick research. The only ones that were like quote unquote expensive that were banned, besides what you mentioned with Risky, Immortal Shapeshifter was some non-zero amount of money, but that was because it was a rare in UU, which
that card was like
sold
$10,
out,
something like that. Yeah,
they were like they were like 15s at their like peak, which was like it's not nothing, but it's not
for sure. Yeah,
as,
it's not sweeping daggers. Like people bought these when they were like $70, right? Like it's
and then the other one I literally just lost it like 5 seconds ago, but
Back Alley was also not zero. It wasn't crazy expensive, but it was not $0.
Back Alley was Back Alley was for
I remember getting XRs for like $2 before it got banned.
Yeah,
so like they were
eventually, but like when they came out, that card was like a $10 rare or something like that.
Sure. Yeah, more lore for Wub and Ryan. At the time, since set 2 for MHA was a lot smaller, and also like drastically underpowered compared to set 1 because set 1 was designed with the idea of maybe retro still existed in mind,
or like it wouldn't be there wouldn't be more My Hero sets or something, right? Like,
correct.
Like it was just because set 1 was a very large
set.
Yeah, like it's a very large set, right? Yeah.
Set 2 MHA was obviously like smaller, less powerful, and there was like 3 total cards that were like good or relevant in it at the time, one of which was Back Alley, the other one was Excited for Blood, and then New Training Method, but like New Training
and the best card ever printed in Universe's history, Ice Gliding. You can't forget.
Yes.
Yeah, but you know,
of course, yes. The people are clamoring.
Yeah.
What was the cost on Back Alley then?
But
yeah,
you said kids said cost on Back Alley.
Yeah, because you were asking how much it was.
No, Back Alley, I think they never got above like $10, but they were a $10 rare for like most of the time that it was around.
Yeah, no, it's like magnitudes basically. When you're talking about sweeping plus Nine Titans plus teamings, like people probably bought teamings at like $30 at a certain point as well.
Yeah. Yep.
But one other thing I want to mention with the article though is like I think they hit the nail on the head. This was like a very candid response from them, and it was like really good. The fact that they said like the format is somewhat diverse. We like this. The problem is games are ending too early. They acknowledge the turn 2 thing, which is something they haven't said for a little while. I think since the Twisty list, the Twisting Azure list. And then they also said these hits are primarily about play experience, which is important as well because I don't think Hanj was turn 2ing all the time. She was certainly capable of it, but sweeping daggers in particular is a play experience hit for sure.
Oh
Yeah.
like,
Oh, I have the ultimate sweeping daggers play experience. I literally at Albuquerque, it was like JJ sweeping daggered my Patrick baby, and I picked up my deck, and we just went to game 2, like, and I sided out all Patrick, like I sided out all my copies of Patrick baby. Immediately, I just said okay, picked up my deck, sided out Patrick baby. And then that was, and then we played game 2.
Fun.
It was like
gentlemen's agreement. You side out your
like,
sweeping daggers. I side out my Patrick babies.
Yeah,
we all know.
It's just like that one was rough, but
And like anytime people are on those symbols, I'm just siding harness out of my War Chief deck. Like I just can't even take the risk, right?
Yeah,
because it's like touch of death attack. Like, yeah. So no, genuinely so happy with this list. You know, unyielding is its own conversation, and maybe it won't be that impactful. But you know, as Travis said, it's kind of like another play experience thing. Or I think we'd be better without that card. But they still did great. They fantastic.
Yeah, no, for sure. Not trying to take away from them at all. I think they absolutely cooked on this list. Like I saw this list. And I made my post about wanting to quit the game if nothing major changed, and then they have been making a lot of major changes. So
yeah,
this
is one of those like, is this a prank list? Like, you know, is this like, is this real? Yeah.
All those fake Yu-Gi-Oh ban list people post to before the real one. You know, it's like that kind of thing.
Okay, so let's go card by card. I guess probably the beginning, in case. I'm going to assume everyone who's watching this video knows what the list is because they engage with this game in some capacity. But it's Pony Errata, Sweeping Daggers ban, Teaming ban, Nine Titans ban, Titan Cliff ban. It just occurred to me now that 3 of the cards on this list have Titan in their name, and one of them is not even from an Attack on Titan set. But I guess they just were getting ahead of the game and printing a broken Titan card. In Jetburn.
It was foreshadowing.
They knew it was coming.
Dude, it's just like the Attack on Titan manga. There's all about foreshadowing. I think.
Yeah.
Still haven't read or watched it.
So, Pony's Errata got once per turn on the clear from card pool. I think, pretty specifically, Webb and I have been like the most outspoken Pony haters of literally all time. Of just like, I don't. It's not even that I think Pony is like terrible. I think it's just like by pure variance. Every time I've played against a Pony in tournament, their deck has just looked pathetic. And I'm not sure if it's like a player decision issue or like a deck construction issue or just like crazy variance to the most insane degree. But literally, I have not lost to a Pony in tournament since it came out. And not once has it even felt close. And it's just one of these things where it's like, I also think I one-tricked a maybe borderline counter deck for 2 years. Like, Ponies have historically, if you look at all of their attack lineups, are not, I wouldn't say like mono high decks, but like pretty close against my make attacks high zone, high block trick strategy. Like anti-aggro, high block trick strategy, where it's like they play Lethal Slash, I absorb the energy, Spirit Strike it face down. They play something, I showdown them, they go, pass. And I go, yeah. You know, and like, I guess not everyone's deck is that. So I have only experiences where I've just played an extremely, extremely favorable matchup. So when I read this and it was like, yeah, Pony's been a competitive staple and like, we think it's too good. I'm like, okay. Like, I guess. Sure, I'm like, whatever. Sure. I guess. My experience has not been that, but I also acknowledge my experience has been pretty one-dimensional for the last, 2 years.
So I also think that Pony is maybe a little bit more of like a noob stomp character.
Oh,
like,
for sure.
If you don't know how to play proper defense against that character, you will explode. And then sometimes you can play proper defense and also still explode. So like,
yeah.
Also, imagine the incredibly high variance of Ryan has never lost a match in tournament to Pony, but has the only recorded loss against Sung Jin Woo. So the character must be the character Pony must be truly unplayable. Clearly.
I must give flowers where they're due. Tim Keefe did wax me.
Yes,
Pony. You know, I think we both agree that my deck did not function in that match. Like both him and I, and like he had to roll 5s the entire time. But but
like, also like for what it's worth, I think Phil, when I told Phil about this ban list, or like I posted it in our like trading post like group chat thing, he was like, I can't believe they are enforcing proper play with this pony errata, and people can just actually play her like a broken character instead of just throwing every card away.
That was going to be my next thing. When I saw the errata, or when I read the errata, I thought about like the very few times I have played Pony, and I was like, this is kind of how I just played this character anyway most of the time. So
Yeah.
I was actually thinking about it, and I was like, yeah, like that is pretty good.
Yeah. As it turns out, she can just play mid range. She is allowed to just do that. She doesn't have to explode your face.
More of what I think Tim was doing. I mean, other than when he hunters allied in Frog, then he was just ripping your head off.
Then you killed them.
But other than that, like, you know, he had like 4 violent enemy shots, and he was just playing like a mid-rangey deck. You know, it's pretty cool.
It'll be interesting because her symbols already have a lot. Like Air has so much clear printed in the Attack on Titan stuff that's all attuned, so you can do whatever you want with it. You know, play on any symbol. But she might have, you know, that like errata character syndrome where people just don't like her enough to go back to her. I think Pony might be one of the ones where they will. Kind of like Mimic, you know, where people just enjoyed the character enough that even though there was erratas, they still thought that you know the character was playable and went back to it. So
we'll see. To call Make the Walt people. It's okay.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. So something I will say about Pony though is to go back to last 3 weeks ago's episode when we talked about the character success rates and all that whatever. I will say Pony, I would not even call Pony an outlier in terms of competitive play. Like Pony has the 5th most top cut placements this year, like starting from Denver. However, some characters that were released after Pony have the same or like 1 fewer top cut placements than she does. But I think she might have the most different events she's topped. If that means anything. Yeah, I think she's topped the most different events. Let me rephrase in a where I think she has the most unique event placements, where I believe Pony has made top cut of 6 different events and not multiple in the same event. So when they say a competitive staple, I guess I didn't quite understand what that meant, but I think I agree in that it's been a constant throughout the entire year. And when they say they didn't find a single card propelling her to her success, I think I kind of disagree. I think if you don't have the redraw cards, if you don't have Wishheart and Feral Shriek, I think Pony is pretty not great. But at the same time, I don't think you need to ban Feral Shriek and Wishheart just
I'm just
Pony.
Assuming they have stuff that they want to use those cards for in the next year.
I mean, that makes I think having Pony for Worlds this year, when Pony had Wishheart, Feral Shriek, and Any Means Necessary.
I think that was when the deck was at its strongest.
I think that was when I felt that was the only time truly where I felt Pony could feel very oppressive. Like when, especially because Any Means Necessary didn't even remove when it triggered. If you tried to play a control game, if you missed a kill turn and they cycled, Any Means Necessary would go back in their deck and they would still have them. And Any Means Necessary was a 5 block mod for Sacrifice for the Cause. So that was a huge one where like in our testing, that was where I took the most losses to Pony, was that iteration of the character. Since Any Means Necessary has been gone, I actually haven't felt Pony to be that crazy. And I think I've kind of floated ideas around where it's like, well, if you banned like one of them, like if you banned either Feral Shriek or Wishheart, but not both, then I think Pony also kind of falls into a much more like reasonable power level where you have 4 redraws, but not 8. But at the end of the day, I do think that just eroding Pony and giving them, it's another one of those like, you can't print discard outlets on her symbols while she existed in the way she did, right? Because if you print too many discard outlets, so I'm okay with I think it makes sense, and for this to be their decision. And truly, I think it makes the most sense of like if they have discard procs in the works, then it definitely makes sense for Pony herself to be changed. Because if you just ban Wish Hard and then print 2 more cards that trigger on discard, then what's the point of anything, right? Like,
Right.
Yeah, which it does certainly seem like they're trending in that design space. As much as I'm not a big fan of it, they do keep making them at least 2 every set.
Yeah, they sure do actually. Yeah.
Well, if we can't print enhances on attacks, we might as well put effects on cards somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
True. Fair enough.
All right. So, yeah, I think Pony's actually still playable. Haha. I know I've said this about almost every character that's been errated this year, and then it's been true for one of them, maybe. But it's I actually do think that like if one Pony made top cut of the next event or something, I would be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I guess like I probably would be like just the same as it was before. Like Pony might just still get one spot.
It's probably the sweeping daggers hit that's like a bigger deal because you're probably aiming for like an air mid-range thing, like kind of what Tim did in Toronto.
Yeah.
And now you don't have access to sweeping for that, which does decrease the quality of the cards in the deck substantially.
For sure.
Oh, for sure.
So, speaking of which, we can go to the first
But
ban.
sweeping daggers.
Yeah.
Yeah. The sweeping is the highest quality attack in your and your opponent's deck.
This is like the dream hit. This is the one that like I think all of us wish would happen and we thought never would, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
This is Ryan's Immortal Shapeshifter circa like 7 months ago, but like more people were whispering about it. Like this was the one where we were like, this is gonna be a problem. It is a problem. Oh, it's gone.
Yeah.
I've spent a week playing with Patrick, baby, and I am a happy clam.
Exactly.
Yes, we're so bad.
So I said this.
So bad.
I said this in a couple of the Discord servers. I may even post it in the main one at some point. But the way I see it, as far as like, I guess this is where the like card cost versus ban versus toxicity like discussion needs to happen. Where the reason we keep saying or we keep talking about like, oh, you can't ban all the expensive cards is because if you consistently print hard to get expensive cards that are ridiculously powerful to the point that they're either mandatory for competitive play or completely format warping, which I would not say Sweeping Daggers is a mandatory for competitive play card because obviously decks not on Sweeping Symbols have been topping. And Sweeping Dagger symbols have not even been the most represented decks. But it is a format warping card. But yes, so if you keep making these drastically format warping cards or mandatory for competitive play cards and then ban them, why would anybody buy your cards? Like, why would you buy cards if every single time you buy them, they get banned? So
the game just becomes so expensive that people will just say, well, this isn't worth it to me. I'll play
I'm going to do anything else. Yes. So that's not to say you can't ban the expensive cards or you can't, like if a card costs X amount of money, it's unbannable. It's just that there is a consideration for the longevity of the game to not ban every expensive card, because if you do, I don't need to buy the cards. Now, the solution to this is be a little bit more conservative on the power level of cards that you print, obviously. But so many cards get printed, so many cooks in the kitchen, so many things happen, and there are so many factors in the metagame that it's impossible to determine, all these things, yada, yada. So the way I've been talking about Sweeping Daggers is like, I actually do not even see it as my Sweeping Daggers got banned, my $200 or whatever X amount of money I've spent is gone. I see it as my Sweeping Daggers got banned, I lost X amount of money, now I have $2,000 of cards I bought previously that are now legal to be played again. I have dozens and dozens of cards that I refuse to put in my deck because Sweeping Daggers existed, that I've literally been unable to play with for 9 months. Like half of my box of playable cards I've been unable to put in my deck with a straight face because of Sweeping Daggers. Now I can. And I think this is the perfect, this is the card that is worth money that you have to hit, because I truly feel like it has the opposite effect of I do not feel like I lost money in air quotes on Sweeping Daggers getting banned. I feel like half my collection got added to the game again, which is super important. Yep. And the same can be true with any meta warping card. Not just how Sweeping Daggers interacts with these cards specifically, but any card that over-centralizes the meta and pushes you into exactly one style of play, if it is too powerful, means that the rest of your cards become useless, which is not fun. And that also means that, like, why would I buy cards for this game if it's not on the chaos symbol? It's not competitively viable, so why would I buy these anyway? Is the other sort of, I don't know why it's a chaos symbol. Well, I do know why, but anyway, sorry, that was more of a personal thing than you know. But yeah, so I do think that this was like an incredibly important hit, and I'm glad it happened, and I think this is a good precedent that, like, they are willing. No card is immune, because Sweeping Daggers at one point was probably the most expensive card in Standard. I don't think it is currently.
Yeah.
It had been kind of trending downward because its symbols were not dominating the meta. I mean, Void won the last event, but you know, its symbols weren't like completely dominant, so it was kind of trending downward a little bit. But at a time, alts were like $100, and it was the most expensive card in the game. So nothing is off limits, and I think that's really important.
Well, nothing is off limits unless you come from a Godzilla Challenger deck that
Sure.
is.
Yeah,
but
Okay. Yeah, you're right. All right, fine. Most things are off limits. Most things are off limits.
The Toho money is sacred.
Yeah, I think it actually was next to Determine Advance, Walk the Dog, and Anima Shot. It was the most expensive card. Like, just looking at, you know, Ultras and Secrets.
Yeah. All right. Teaming. Rip Bozo.
Finally.
I don't know. Yeah,
Yes.
actually,
So
finally.
this-
Die.
Never
Die,
used
teaming.
for
Die.
anything. Never used for anything other than evil. I was also one of the people that fucking got to top 4 at Nats with this card, and it was a problem then. And then they banned the character it was in, and then not the card, and it lied dormant and wait to become a problem in another character. Also suspiciously a 5/5-hander. Anyway,
And that character got errated. Then it became a
Yeah.
problem. It
Yeah,
didn't
Was it
care.
enough? Yeah. Well, it was until Heist, yeah.
Yeah.
This was like a really nice dual hit, because I think people were very tired of a couple things they saw at Atlanta. One was the Devilgen Heist stuff, and then also Porco picking it up and playing it over and over again. Like that, especially on stream, kind of reminded people, it's like, oh yeah, that's a thing. You can certainly roll your face through a tournament if things go your way, and that's people obviously were not very happy about that. And this is like a way of dealing with Heist, kind of, while also errataing Porco, kind of. Like, it's unlikely that another attack will come out to cause the same issues that Porco had with this card.
Yeah.
And then also Heist is kind of like, all right, well, now we'll see if Hawks can fill that hole, right? If he can step into the spot where Devilgen was, or if Devilgen's still really, really good, which, might be. I don't know. I haven't really played into it.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're the Devilgen expert. I have been playing a handful of games against Shree with like a new updated list where he just replaces the what are they called? Teamings with Besieges.
With Besiege.
And like it's still just good. And I'm the card that's still killing me every time is Camo Counter. The minute that I don't full block one attack against Devilgen.
Sure, yeah. Devilgen is kind of a bit of a mistake of a character, right? Like,
I agree with you. Do we think are we like okay, but we're like against banning characters. So do we need what? Another Devilgen errata, or do we just ban Camo Counter and be like, it's fine?
I mean, I think if you're gonna ban a character, like
you.
maybe it's just not relevant anymore. Maybe Devilgen doesn't top again. I kind of doubt that. But if you're gonna ban a character, probably one that's on the reward store and isn't like from a pack or something, right?
You know what?
Like probably just ban that one.
Correct.
So, I feel like I could see him getting banned before he rotates.
I also think the philosophy of the not wanting to ban characters, I personally don't think has any merit in the current direction of the game. Like, I don't know if you guys remember the article where they explained the desire to errata versus ban characters, but they said, like, basically everyone has a favorite character. And we don't want to ban a character because if it's the only representation of your favorite character in universes, then you feel like you can't play it anymore, yada, yada, yada. Well, guess what? Hawk's my favorite character, and you didn't make a second one, and it's been 3 years. So, it's whatever. Like, the characters are, like, most of the characters from My Hero Academia, which is how most of the people, like, most of the newer players got into this game, don't have characters in Standard anyway. So, when it was a, like, single IP game, as it was pushed for a couple years, of like, yes, if we only printed one instance of your favorite My Hero character and then we banned it, that can be a feels bad moment. When you're IP hopping every set, who cares? Like, it doesn't matter because all these characters are going to rotate soon anyway, and you don't seem to have any plans to replace them. And then I guess for Deviljin specifically, if you do think that someone's favorite character is Deviljin and you think somebody is spending $20,000 on every new booster pack because they love Deviljin so much, well, the Tekken booster's coming out. So make Deviljin 2. You know, like, I don't know. Yep. I don't know. I just think that, like, the aversion to banning characters for that reason doesn't really hold up for me anymore, because it doesn't matter. The characters are gone anyway soon.
I would agree with that.
Overall, this is a card that I think definitely needed to go at some point, but it is kind of a question mark of whether it missed on Deviljin specifically. And then Porco, like, those Porco players will have to prove to me that the deck can still do something, I guess, because it's just not something that
those of you saying that teaming ban doesn't even make Porco worse, literally prove it. I don't believe you, and I think they're unhinged, deranged ramblings. I'm gonna say, in the nicest way possible. When I was reading through some comments that are like, Porco is still the best deck, I'm like, you people have no. It can't be. Like, no.
I never in a million years lose to George in top 8 if teaming is not in his deck. I died to only teaming and him drawing 2 of them on turn 2.
Yeah,
none of that happens if teaming is not a card.
Well, I don't think he's claiming that Porco is still what it is. You know, I think it's just a few loud people. So, well, you know, whatever. It's fine.
I was just more saying that as an example towards the people that are saying, like, he's not affected. Like, he is.
This is the best card in his deck by like a million miles. Like, this isn't even, you know, like, I think saying that, like, Deviljin isn't affected has a tiny bit more merit. He's definitely still affected. I guess what I'll say is the card was in his deck and now it is banned. So clearly he was playing it because it was a good card. But replacing teaming with Prestige is like, now the end of your string is two more difficulty twice. Like, you're playing an attack, you're playing a 3-diff attack instead of a 1-diff attack, and then presumably airshipping it at some point, and then playing a 3-diff attack instead of a 1-diff attack again. So now, if you just try to go for a turn 2 line and you don't check enough 5s, like, if you only built 2 or 3, you are not passing it. When previously it was still possible. You could check like 2 additional 3s. Now it seems much less likely to actually pull off a turn 2 kill consistently.
Yeah. I do hope that with this ban, they're at least thinking forward that if there is a Steel Resurrection teaming with the Attack Titan, Chrome Frog takedown type card in the future, that they will just be back here again if they print that card again.
Yeah,
right? Because right now, things like Deviljin and Porco are still here and just waiting for another, X slot, to put right there.
Yeah. Those cards are always, in every iteration, problematic in some way, shape, or form. And it's gotten to the point where it's like, why do you keep exploring this design space? You already know that this design space is not fair. This does not ever do fair things in any respect.
How long do you think it'll be for Great Yamato Attack to get banned, right? Like, currently, we look at it and we go, this is just worse teaming with the Attack Titan. Well, when teaming with the Attack Titan gets banned, now it's worse banned. Now it is worse card that is so powerful you're not legally allowed to put it in your deck. So where does that leave us?
Right?
Yeah. So, we'll see, but like they've clearly chose to go one direction. So I'm hoping they stick to that and future cards don't come out that are just this card, in some, in a trench coat. It's just,
and I mean, Yamada even has better stats and powerful, right? Like, I'm not crazy.
Yeah. But it has more restrictions, thankfully. But that's still, as I said, eventually we may be able to overcome those restrictions.
Yep. So.
Nine Titans.
So 9 Titans. Yeah, this one.
This is probably the biggest, like, I truly don't know what they were cooking when they put all the numbers on this card in the manner that they exist, if that makes sense. Like, it's infinity, so it can go in anything. So, I mean, even if it was life attuned, it would be almost the same card, but like infinity obviously means much more. It's a 4-diff, so Hanj can just start the game with it, which is sure, man. Like, surely the first time somebody did that in testing, they should have gone, maybe not. But
yeah, right.
I don't know. Like, I don't know.
That
Well,
one applied.
you guys probably have
Yeah.
more thoughts on this than I do, because I
Yeah.
kind of
So
refused to play a
I've-
9 Titans deck while it was legal, but you guys played it a lot more. Obviously.
Yeah, I've talked about it for War Chief, right? Travis played it a bit as well, but I think that the War Chief deck still functions without this card. I think a lot of your defense is actually blocking and not really relying on the -4 damage, and then on top of that, you really just need like +1 Falling Titans now to kill them, like because that's usually what you were doubling. I know in the finals I doubled a female Titan twice to kill him, but I was also against a 9 Titans deck, right? So the clock was faster.
Yeah.
I think the bigger hit is specifically obviously Hanj, and I think Hanj was probably the most like negative play experience backup deck in that like it was just so like all the text on the card is tenacious, none of it matters. You got a free 9 Titans to start the game, they can't attack it. It's just ridiculous, right?
Yep.
And we saw that, overall, I think Hanj was probably the best performing backup deck in the end. Like, there might be like play rate, like who's playing the deck aside and stuff.
If you just go by raw number of event tops, Hanj is. If you factor in placement in events, then it was Zeke, War Chief. But
Yeah.
if you just do like Hanj had more spaces in Top Cut than Zeke, but obviously Zeke went. Hanj lost in the first round of Top Cut most of like I'm pretty sure 6 of the 7 Hanjes that topped lost round 1 of Top Cut or something like that. Like it was
Sure,
some
yeah.
like crazy amount. But yes.
But it was
Hanj,
like they played on the bubble, like they played
Yes,
each other,
yes.
so one of them didn't top,
Yeah.
and then like I at least know the one Hanj I played was Barlow, and I went first against him as Devil Jin, which I think is probably one of the most broken decks to be playable in a while. So like that one's like okay.
for sure.
But
Yeah.
overall, I think this is the card where I think people will still try and play backups. This combined with the solo attacks coming out, which are efficient shift attacks, like is 2 huge reasons to like stick with pink cards or still try and make them work without leaving full power Hanj to just, Godzilla syndrome, but her, she just is appearing for the next, 6 events or whatever, and you're just constantly dealing with her. So I think this was like the perfect card to hit from that. You could have done like maybe Titan Pile or something, but I think it's just not enough. Even if you take away the like turn 2 24 damage type stuff, I think it's still just not enough. I think the deck's still incredible.
Yeah.
So
9 Titans getting banned also gives the people who do still play backups the Johns in tournament to talk about their bad beats of someone playing 4 copies of Violent Animus Shot, because it's like that's just hateful.
oh yeah, now
No,
like I
You don't
think
need
Yeah,
that many
no.
now. Come on, no, that's like a 3 for the most. You guys,
Yeah,
you're
I mean, we'll
hating
see, right?
crazy if there's 4 violent in
The
your
solo
chat.
attacks might be really good, like especially
Sure.
that minus speed one. Like that just
True.
might be everywhere.
Igris is gonna fuck people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll do. You know what? I'll do one of my prophetic predictions from for the future. In 1 year, they will ban Violent Animus Shot because it's too good against all of the backups that they're printing.
Yeah. I mean, definitely like when I don't remember, it was a while ago when I just sent the Dante Devil May Cry gif where he's just like flipping his guns around and shooting everything, and I was like, this is the Violent Animus Shot against the backup decks or whatever the fuck. Like
Yes,
that's just what it is.
yeah.
It's just like jumping in the air, twirling around, just shooting in every
Yeah.
direction. It's just like
That would-
yeah.
It's the
That would
Metal
require-
Gear Solid revolver.
Yeah.
Fucking game.
I would require them to continue printing backups.
Which we'll see. Yeah.
Hmm.
I assume there
Well,
will
at
be.
least-
but- Well, we
Listen,
know there
that's-
will be when you win an event. So
Yeah, I was
You
gonna say
gotta-
that's a great segue. Yeah.
well, no,
I'm
we
also
have
just
we
not
have
a
hard
fan
left.
though. The like general backup damage sponge playstyle, like I really don't like it because I understand that they're doing it to like protect your backups, haha. But the real result is you're trying to kill these backups anyway, and your opponent is using the backups as HP sponge while using the DR as also HP sponge, and they're just like a 70 health character, and that's so like unpleasant to play into. So like
Yep.
Loyalty of a Friend is just a lame card too. Like I really don't like that card. It's probably not going to ever be like enough of an issue unless we, go heavy into another backup synergy thing. But I just don't think those like types of defense are very interesting or like fun. And similarly, it's kind of like why Immortal recoup time was dealt with. It's just this, immortal character moment, right, where you're just staring down like a wall and like it doesn't even feel productive to enter the enhanced stuff and like play an attack.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, the final ban, the one that was
The Calvin Dawn
probably,
ban.
in my opinion, the one that was looming the most was Titan Cliff. I think this card definitely had reached a point where it was probably the most impactful attack in the game to put on the table. I don't think that's an exaggeration. I think, like, pound for pound, it was the most, like, it did the most
did
of any
everything,
card currently legal and standard.
It and Rock Barrage, I think, are the two like
Yes,
insane
yeah,
cards to
and
put
then they
into play.
banned the card the Rock Barrage builds that makes it the
Yes.
most insane card. So
Yeah.
so same thing, right? Like if they had
And-
banned
and
finally
Sweeping
free,
Daggers, haha.
yes,
So.
well, yes, if they had banned finally free instead of Titan Cliff, I still think Titan Cliff building Inspiring Song is almost as good as Titan Cliff. In instances where you already have momentum, Titan Cliff building Inspiring Song is better than Titan Cliff building in Finally Free. If you already have a momentum to spend for +2, you build Inspiring Song instead. And now your check is +3, and you build a foundation that you can tap. So, the redraw of this also is just egregious. Like, draw 3 is an absurd amount, and I think this card was the glue that I think contributed to every single, like, I'm going to say in air quotes, high roll moment from the aggro decks. Every single time you died and the response from somebody was, well, it just sounds like they drew well. Well, yes, they drew a Titan Cliff, which then did their taxes and, you know, like, which, like, like, Titan Cliff did literally everything you could possibly imagine and more. And, especially off the back of a City Rampage, it was just a 6 high 7, or in Godzilla, a 6 high 10. If you're checking a 5, you commit 0. It's just like this. The reason I think I also hated this card so much is previously in the earlier stages of the game post My Hero Academia, I think there was a pretty reasonable balance curve of like 4 diffs through 6 diffs, where the 6 diffs were not seeing as much play, or any really, because the reward for the risk wasn't quite there. And then they kept making the 6s get slightly stronger, slightly stronger, slightly stronger, slightly stronger. Because why would you ever risk checking a 3 on these cards when you could just play like Electric Jolt or something, right? Like, why would you put these 6 cards in your deck? And then they kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And then now it is infinitely easier to buff your check or manipulate you checking better or anything on these 6 diff cards that, like, the Jetburn end of My Hero era super pushed 6 diff, which in the Jetburn era, this card wasn't even that good, because if you just checked a 3, it still didn't, you know, benefit itself, or it still wasn't enough benefit for the cost.
Or Ultra Regen, right?
Yeah.
Like, those were kind of your things.
Now it's just gotten to the point where, like, a card being a 6 diff doesn't even matter anymore, really. Like, it truly doesn't matter. The effects of the card, like, there was definitely a time in this game where the numbers on a card mattered much, much more than the effect text. And I think now the effect text matters so much more than almost anything else. And boy, does this card have a lot of effect text with really good things on it. So,
yeah. We've come a long way from Back Alley and feeling like Back Alley needed to be dealt with.
For sure, yes.
Like, when you line this up and compare what they're doing in, like, not just in a vacuum, but, like, actually in gameplay.
Yeah.
And also, I do want to mention, this is, like, a very good hit in that it's already rotating, so it's just dealt with a few months early, and they get to keep all the new cards that came out still for, like, the Godzilla archetype if they want people to continue playing that. Like, I know we might not be the biggest fans of it, but, like, allowing that to still exist, this is a way of dealing with, like, the one outlier that's about to go away anyway.
Yes, I do think it is fine to hit these cards. Like, I know it borderline defeats the point of a rotation if you're going to ban the cards that are about to rotate anyway. But I also think, going back to what he said about, like, the banning expensive cards, whatever. Banning a common that's about to rotate after one or two more events anyway is definitely the lowest level of feels bad imaginable. Because if you like this card, you've had plenty of time to play with it, right? Like, no matter what, even if it wasn't incredible when Jetburn came out, it's been a good card for a long time, and you have been able to play this card to the best of its ability for quite some time. So I think this is not, and they're commons. So
and it's a common. It's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like, yeah.
For sure. So overall, I think, I do think the reason why I'm a little scared of Equipment Heist moving forward is not even just to say that, like, oh, they hit all the decks that were doing better than the Equipment Heist decks. It's that I think Fire got pretty disproportionately kneecapped compared to most of the other symbols, Fire and Earth. So the Fire decks that were all maining Forcing Surrender incidentally, and like Earth lost Titan Cliff and Earth Pony probably isn't a thing anymore to the same level it was.
Backup decks probably aren't on Driven unless they're like Flock now, I guess.
Yeah, so I really think the best Equipment Heist counters seem less likely to be incidentally played, which just, I think, means that now we're back to the, do you play these anti-Equipment Heist cards in a deck that doesn't necessarily want them to get a better Equipment Heist matchup and a worse everything else matchup? Or do you make your deck better for the field and then feel bad when you get rolled by these Equipment Heist decks? That you might only play 2 Equipment Heist decks in a tournament, you know? You might play 6 or 7 rounds and only play against 2 of them, but Equipment Heist is definitely a pretty linear deck that if you don't have the counter cards to, feels pretty impossible to beat. So we'll see if, as you said, if the teaming with the Attack Titan ban slows Devil Jin down enough that some of the more mid-rangey decks have a chance to just kill him. And we'll see if Hawks, who didn't get hit from this list, can navigate around what little Equipment Heist hate will still be there, right?
I just, regarding Devil Jin, I think it's just really hard now to like 2 or 3 build into killing them on 2.
Yeah.
Especially if you have to use your response early on. Like, if you're able to save it and like stack a 3 with Cerados, you might be able to get there early, but that assumes you check well and also 3 build and also open Heist and probably minimum 2 or 3 attacks. So it's much, much harder to do that early turn kill. And I think decks will be able to take advantage of it from there, maybe freeze some foundations or get to the point that they can block and not feel like they're so far behind and all that.
Yeah, for sure. Freezing foundations on the low builds, I think, will be more relevant now because, as you said, the Titan Cliff, which is the card that you can kill them with fewer foundation, or the attack Titan teaming, the one that lets you kill them with fewer foundations, and Titan Cliff that lets you build more foundations, are gone. So if you can leverage the Guilty Gear tension effects, like the blue one, where that freezes a foundation, I think there is a world where these low build try to kill you on 2 decks just don't work anymore because of these factors, right? So I hope that's the case at least.
Yeah, we are all hoping until someone finds something.
Yeah. All right. So that covers the list in its entirety, I suppose. So let's go to the other announcements for the 2026 organized play cycle. Let's quickly go over the prizing. I did not, unfortunately, I forgot to get a image of it ahead of time. So I'm just going to I'm going to guess on what I think it said from my memory. So the big one that really matters, in my opinion, is winning a regional in the 2026 season lets you create, and I think they call it like an alternate universe version of an existing backup as you. So like how when you win the world championship and you get to design a character card of yourself, this will not be a mechanically unique card, but it will basically be an alt art of a backup that already exists. So thank you for, So that is pretty sick. I think creating your own card is one of the coolest things about this game in general, and it only being once a year has kind of felt like it definitely made it feel more special, but it definitely made it feel less like attainable.
Yeah.
And not even less
tougher to chase.
Yeah.
It's tougher to chase something that doesn't come up as frequently.
Yeah.
And it's part of why I was really hopeful for when they did the new like OP announcement and stuff like that, because it was like kind of groundswell, but a lot of people who had been around in like the old UFS community and just in general, people were on cardboard a lot more back in the day, right? Because you could get it from like Legacy Championship, Retro Championship, Teams Championship, like whatever.
Yeah, it was probably
had all
10
these different
times,
events.
like actually 10 times. They're probably almost 10 times as many events.
Yeah, and you still
that
like you
gave
still had
you
to
a
be
card, right?
you
Yeah.
still had to be good, right? You still had to beat other people who were playing this game, and you still had to like show up to these events where it was available at, because it wasn't just available at like not Arlies, what were they called?
PTCs, right?
PTCs. There you go. Yeah. Because you still like you couldn't get character cards at PTCs and stuff like that. But I'm very happy about the backups thing from regionals, because it is like if Porat and Wub win like fucking 2 regionals in a season, they deserve something for that, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're sun running for an entire year, you should get something out of that outside of just the opportunity to do one tournament, right?
Yeah.
Like I think it's very, very cool. I was just hoping that they would do like this is not me being like, oh, I wish that they would do more and like only moping about it. This is sick. This is a really good change. I'm very happy about it. I just also wish that they would do like at the very least like a teams card again, because like we're getting some of those in the shop now. Like we're finally rolling out the ones that people were due, like Cardboard Crusaders or whatever. It was like the 2019 championship Nats
Yeah, no idea.
promo.
I think so, yes.
But yeah, like we got like all the backdated ones to just remind people of like, hey, this was a cool thing that we used to do. Why don't we just keep doing it, right? Because it's
Yeah.
like we the design team works really well. Like I've been through the process designing my character, right? And you know, them not telling me that the good symbol doesn't exist for a year withstanding, they did a very nice job of like they did a very nice job of letting us know without telling us what's like coming out. Like, hey, if you want your card to be cool, or like I want to do this, what symbols should I have? These are the ones that I like. They go, you're gonna want like one of these for something in the future down the line. They do a good job with that, and like the whole design process from the like side of someone who has been through it is really good and sick. I just wish there were more opportunities, like you were saying.
And this is yeah, and this is not an opportunity to design a card's mechanics.
But
it
you
is
get
an
like the
opportunity
input on the art too.
for sure. Yeah, it's something that like even my friends that don't play this game, that like play other games, like if I won this card, they would want it, right? Like they'd be, oh, that's super cool that like you won this thing, you know, and it's just cool. Like it's just such a cool idea to be on a card for a game that you like, and it doesn't have to be a mechanically unique card. And I think this is maybe the perfect solution of like letting you be on a card and minimizing the I don't want to say like minimizing the work that needs to be done, but just minimizing or streamlining the entire process of like at the end of the day, it is a lot of work to create a mechanically unique character card for somebody, and reserving that for a once a year, or maybe if they do, you know, maybe they can bring back like one other way to get a character card. But you know, if they clearly they're still doing the backlogged ones from like 5 years ago, so the amount they did was not feasible in the past, right? So if you keep the mechanically unique cards to once or twice a year, and then you just let winners of regionals make alt arts of cards they already like, I think that's also cool. Like if you pick, granted, I'm not the biggest fan of backups in general, so whatever. But I understand the sentiment of like we can't let you be an alt art of a foundation or an attack, but we can let you be a character, right? Because backups are represented by like characters. If you are like what was the one that we wanted to do?
Burrito to go.
Jaegerus or something.
No. Marley's Warrior. Is it?
Oh, Marley's Warrior.
Probably Jaegerus. Yeah.
Jaegerus.
Because Jaegerus followers are like the
So
ones,
so it's like if you and like some of your friends win regionals in this season, and all of you pick like Jaegerus followers, and you just have all the different Jaegerus followers. Like that one seems really like that's
literally friendship card.
Yeah, like that's so cool.
I also really hope that when they make them, they don't put them on the rewards store. 100%. I think that if you are someone who wins an event for that and you get your face on that card, it should be very limited run. You should be allowed to give it to whoever you want to give it to. You should be allowed to sell them for a non-zero amount of money, because if they're on the reward store, no one's going to buy them. They're just going to get them from the reward store.
So I think the difference being and the way that you could implement this in a better way potentially is you can get like 3 of them from the reward store total because they have the lifetime redemption whatevers. But I think that like not making these alt arts of like cool things available to other people. Like I get that
I think there should give you foil ones. Give me a box of foil ones.
Oh yeah,
give me a box of 100 foil ones.
I mean that also works.
You know,
but
like
it's just like this is a card that already exists, right? So like there's no difference if people cannot get the alternate version of them.
Yeah.
It's not like you're actually losing anything if they say, well, we're not putting these on the reward store. Because you can still just play with the normal copy of the card.
I think non-foil and foil is a good way of doing it that way. Like, if people, like, they have a way of getting, like, each of them if they want to collect them all and they don't know you. Or, like, have an easy way of, like, maybe overseas or something. But I think, like, giving you foil ones would be a nice touch. Is, like, a way to give them out to friends or sell or whatever. It's, like, just an additional little something.
Yeah, I'm very satisfied with all of this prizing. I am so glad that we are like finally pushing for better prizing because it was so good in year 1 and then it just went downhill very quickly from there. And when I made that post, everyone knows the post talking about how I was going to quit and I needed like reasons to come back. They have started giving me all the reasons I could ask for. And they're doing an amazing job at getting me back into the game. So I will give them a huge round of applause for that.
Yeah, I will say notably, I saw some complaints about like, oh, where's the product, etc. They did this last time too, where they didn't actually announce the like boxes and stuff. Like there will still be boxes. There will be product. That's not something that you should be worried about.
Yeah.
So something I would like to talk about. This is something that I have very uncharacteristic of me. I have not posted an essay about this in any Discord server yet, but I have been thinking about it for a long, long, long time, and it needs to be brought up as early as possible because even one event where it is not implemented properly is unacceptable. So I'm just going to bring this up because I'm actually going to write a very extensive question about this in the Q&A that they posted. So currently, if you're watching this the week it goes up, you can write questions about the organized play cycle for this year in the main Cord server, and they allegedly will answer them to the best of their ability at the end of the week, because there are still some things that are unclear. I need a detailed breakdown of how the bye tiebreakers are calculated. It is extremely, extremely, extremely important for the integrity of the tournament that the bye tiebreakers are calculated in a consistent manner each event. So, part of the prizing for locals, for local championships, and for topping regionals is you get a bye at a major of your choosing, a round 1 bye at the major of your choosing. For those of you that have not really played many competitive games where this has been a feature, basically, you are entered in the tournament, and your round 1 is counted as a win automatically. So you do not begin playing until round 2, and you have 3 points, which would be how many you would get for winning round 1. The problem with this is it can skew how many rounds a tournament is. In a smaller tournament, which unfortunately some of the events in our game are smaller, if you have multiple people with round 1 buys, which from the sounds of it, there will be many, many people with round 1 buys, because everyone who gets top 16 at a regional wins a round 1 buy to the next event, or an event of their choosing. So in theory, from the second event onward, there will be between 16 and it could be as many as 56 people based on the local championship buys. It could be as many as technically 56 people each tournament could have a buy, which are more than some of our tournaments have entrants. So, if the bye tiebreakers are not calculated properly, or if they are not accounted for in the Swiss rounds based on the size of the tournament, it can grossly skew how the final standings are. So, for example, if you have a 40-person tournament, right, with no buys, at the end of round 1, 20 people will have wins, 20 people will have losses. and so on and so on and so on. You play all the rounds until, in theory, the tournament structures are designed to end on one undefeated person. Now, if you have a 40-person tournament, and then you also have 10 people that have a round 1 bye, at the end of round 1, there will be 30 people with a round 1 win and only 20 people with losses. And that is a huge, huge, huge skew on the remainder of the Swiss rounds needed to reach the conclusion of one undefeated person, right? And if you don't play the required number of rounds to roughly land on one undefeated person, you will have really, really, really feels bad moments where you can go X1 and not make top 8 or not make top 16. You will have many more people tied with the same record. And then that issue gets compounded with the fact that bye tiebreakers are not going to be calculated the same as other people because you didn't have an opponent round 1. So there are a couple options for how you can calculate the tiebreakers for byes. You can either count a bye as a 0% tiebreaker, where you are counted as playing a round 1 opponent who has no wins, and therefore your tiebreakers will be significantly worse on average than everybody else of your record. Therefore, if you take a bye, you will never make top cut if you have the same record as people, and that is atrocious. Alternatively, you could make byes perfect tiebreakers, where you have a round 1 opponent who's considered to have a 100% win-loss record. Ordinarily, that is impossible because you beat them, or it would not be a 100% win rate, it would be a X1 win rate. Then you, on average, would have tiebreakers significantly better than everyone who does not have byes. Then you would always top if you have the same record, and that's also not good. So, in my opinion, the only way to really do it in a method that has any sort of integrity for the tournament, I guess there are 2 ways. You could treat the bye opponent tiebreaker as a 50%, so you could treat it as equal wins and losses, or the method that I would prefer is you just don't treat them as an opponent for calculating your tiebreakers. Basically, you just take your opponent's win percentage calculated for the opponents you actually played against. Currently,
do we trust Cardio to do that?
Currently in UGN, this is what I'm getting to. Currently in UGN, if you have an odd number of players and a player gets a bye in a tournament. So for example, if you have a 9-person tournament and one person gets a bye because obviously there's an odd number of players, that counts as a 0% win rate opponent. I checked. We had this happen at our locals last week. Currently, that is how it is implemented in UGN. That must change. That is the most important thing that I will be screaming from the rooftops until event 1 happens and we get complete clarification. The byes, as they're implemented in UGN, must change, or else byes are useless. They are less than useless. They are an active detriment to your competitive success as they are currently implemented. If I have faith they can change it, because they can do whatever they want, like it's their software, but I think this is something that needs to be talked about, and it needs to be addressed before the first event. Because if it is not, and the byes are implemented where you have a 0% win rate opponent, and most people, I guess, so I did say that you will always not top. Technically, if you just have cracked opponents throughout all of Swiss and their tiebreakers are ridiculous, then your one person being 0% might not drag you down. But it's really, really, really hard for that to be the case. Having a 0% win rate opponent in Swiss really destroys your tiebreakers. Like, it's rough.
Yeah.
So that is huge. And if every single person that has byes is treated as having a 0% win rate opponent, that literally is worse than just playing round 1 of the tournament. So in almost every scenario. So I think that is something that's super, super important that needs to be outlined very clearly. And currently it is not. So, but most importantly, than just the bye tiebreakers is the Swiss rounds played. Now, Yu-Gi-Oh! Has done byes for a couple years now, and it was not until this year that they outlined in the policy documents specifically how a way to address this. And buys have been very controversial in the ways that they've been calculated in Yu-Gi-Oh! People have complained about them a lot, and I'm very glad that they finally addressed it this year. I would love if our game can address them before they are a problem. So basically how it's done in Yu-Gi-Oh! Now is if somebody has a round 1 buy, the Swiss rounds are calculated as if there is one more person in the tournament. So what that means is, when I went back to earlier, if there is a 16-person tournament, but one person has a bye, the Swiss rounds will be calculated as if it was a 17-person tournament. So you will play an extra round. That is a really small, isolated example. But how that actually matters a lot for our game is getting us, if we have 16 people with buys, right? Or something like that, which is a very real situation based on how buys are distributed. And we have a 115 person event. The 16 buys could and should bump us to the Swiss rounds of 131 person event. So we would play an extra round of Swiss. And I think that is super, super, super important to not have the really bad feels bad moments of, wow, there are like 14 X1s and we're only cutting to top 8. And that is a real situation that could occur. And I think that, again, we need to get ahead of this. I will write all my thoughts in a more concise manner, and I'll post it in the FAQ section. And hopefully somebody who has the ability to think about this, in an actual like administrative capacity will see it and address it. But that is my TED Talk /rant/ college level course on buys. Yeah.
The cardio.
Yeah. Did my explanation did you guys follow my explanation at least of why this is okay.
It's abysmal.
It is super, super, super important that this is taken care of. Or else buys are terrible and nothing matters. So okay.
Or we just don't use our buys.
Or we just don't use them. Or you just don't use them. And that's exactly what I'm saying is I will not use it if this is not outlined. Like I will just not use them. So because it could be worse, but we'll see. So hopefully it won't be, and hopefully steps will be taken to preserve the tournament in integrity. But okay, that was my buys tiebreaker crash out moment. So now the elephant in the room, the regional locations and events, and the new LC structure.
Okay,
there are no regionals.
30 seconds before we start talking overseas.
Okay,
they picked real cities this time. We'll be able to fly them. They will be, for NA, this is like the dream, right?
I can drive to
Vegas,
Chicago,
Atlanta,
baby.
Chicago, like all the places where we want to see regionals. Thank you.
Yes. They're not in the middle of nowhere, inaccessible, barren wastelands. They're in cities that we can actually travel to. Yes. So we did see really big yo-yos of attendance even in NA this year, where we had a 175 person tournament and we had like a 50 person tournament, and it's just accessibility and ease of access of location, almost exclusively. And all 4 of these are much more accessible. I would be shocked and borderline appalled if any of these regionals go under 100 people this year, because these are real cities and real locations. And
we already know the months.
And we already
just
know
getting exact dates.
Yes. And we have plenty of lead time this time, unlike last time. So as soon as the locations get hammered down and the dates get listed and people can actually book several months ahead of time, I think it will be a much, much, much better situation. So good stuff, actually good, I'm applauding, that is fantastic. And everyone liked that. Yes. Now, what everyone didn't like necessarily is no regionals for EU or OCE on the schedule this year. And I think there's a lot to unpack there. And I will say simultaneously, I understand, in air quotes, how the decision was made from a monetary perspective of, at a certain point, there was some calculus made where they deemed it not profitable or worth it to spend the money required to have a regional in these locations. And that sucks if you are from these locations. But again, in air quotes, I understand how they got to that conclusion, unfortunately. However, that does not mean that I think that is a good thing for the players in those regions and etc. Now, what I do want to talk about is how they are handling LCs this season. And my biggest issue with LCs the last 2 years have been, I personally felt like they've been largely pointless or irrelevant to most of the player base. If you are not in striking distance, of getting the direct Worlds invite from last year or the 200 points from this year, LCs were pretty irrelevant for you to compete in, I will say, where the prizing was not desirable and the tournament structure wasn't really that competitive. Like they were just usually the same people that go to your locals, maybe a couple more people. So you weren't really getting like a real competitive tournament experience. And
both sides of the spectrum. Last year I went to so many because I was forced to and it was awful. This year I went to 0 and it was also awful.
Yeah. Yeah. And same with me, where like this year, you needed 50 points to qualify for day 1 and 200 to qualify for day 2. You could not qualify for day 1 by winning every LC at your locals of choice. So if you don't travel, there was no reason to play LCs because you could not get anything from it. And similarly, the difference between 50 and 150 was so astronomical that even if you went to an event or two and you easily passed the 50-point hurdle, playing LCs and winning and only getting 10 points didn't really affect anything. So you had to play like 10 of them, and most people either didn't have that, and most people didn't have that option. So again, the only ways that LCs have been applicable for the past 2 years have been you either play 10 of them or you play 0 of them. And there's almost no in between. This year, or next year, they are changing it to really make every LC actually matter. And I'm very, very optimistic that it will increase attendance to the point that, like, I go to my local game store most weeks I'm available to do so. I do not have, like, every Thursday night of my life blocked off, I must go to locals. But if I'm free on Thursday, I will go to locals, right? Like, that's how I treat it. I have been treating LCs exactly the same way. If I'm free on Saturday, I'll show up. Because in my eyes, it's just a locals. There is no difference, honestly. Next year, when LCs get scheduled, I will probably block my calendar. I'm going to my LC, this date in January or this date in April. I will be there. And I imagine many other people will do the same. And I will I've only traveled outside of my local store to a different LC one time. I will probably go to all of them that are about an hour away. I only have 1 or 2 that are my normal local, but I will go to them, right? So, and I imagine many other people will feel the same way. So I hope LC attendance will increase from the previous years. And I have some numbers on the LC attendance from the previous years that I posed questions to the 3 of you before we began recording, and I hope you've had a chance to mull it over.
Another 3v1 minigame.
Yeah, so I looked at every event on UGN that was run with the local championship event type. So if you ran an LC improperly in the wrong event type, I cannot help you, unfortunately. But presumably, this will also be how they have to be run this year, and you will only get the prizing credit. So, for the record, the prizing for LCs next year have been increased to the point that if there are 16 players or more, the champion will get a $150 travel voucher. If there are 32 players or more, both first and second place will receive a $150 travel voucher. So I looked at every event in this competitive season run with the local championship event type, and I counted how many of them hit 16 and 32 people and where they were. So the question I posed to all of you was, how many local championships do you think reached 16 players or more, and how many do you think reached 32 players or more? Bonus points if you can guess the regions. So Mitch, would you like to lock in your answer?
Yeah, I will go with I'm gonna go with 10 that hit 16, region being NA, and I will suspect that there is at least 1 OCE. And then for 32, I will suspect 0.
Okay, let's see. So, okay, I'll pencil you down. You said 10 for top 16 and 0 for top 32, and you said 1 in OCE, 9 in NA?
There's got to be at least 1 in OCE. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Wub? What is your answer?
I think it's like 5 that went over 16, if I had to guess, and I think probably one in like Southeast U.S. Um, yeah, I have no concept for abroad, so I'm really not sure.
Sure. And
I don't think any
32.
went above 32.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, Travis.
I will say 7 for top 16 in NA, and then 0 for top 32, and then for OC/EU, I will say 1 hit top 16 maybe, and definitely 0 top 30.
Okay. So
It's crazy. You could have prices right at us and said 1 for.
all right.
For the last
So
number.
for the
No.
LCs, officially reported on UGN with over 32 players, you are all correct. There were 0. There were 0
Yay.
LCs this year
you
that
were
hit
correct.
32. There were 0 LCs that hit 30 people. Now, as for LCs that hit 16 people, all 3 of you are so hilariously wrong that there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 LCs that hit top 16 that had 16 players this year, which is pretty. You were all kind of on the money on that. Mitch said 10, Webb said 5, Travis said 8. You said 7 in NA, 1 in EU. Now, so Travis wins that round, I guess. Now, as for the region, 1 was in North America.
Oh, we got Mog.
Red Riot
We got Mog.
Red Riot Games, April 27th, 2025, had a
Wait,
1K tournament that also
Wait, I was
doubled.
there.
Yeah, you were. That also
I was-
that also doubled as an LC. That is the only reported LC in North America that hit 16 people.
Wait, I won that.
Yeah.
Well,
Wait, I'm a moron.
congratulations, Mitch. You are the North America Local Championship champion. You won
Yay.
North American
Woo.
Locals this year.
I did it. I've done it.
You won the biggest North American Locals this year. Okay. Then, for EU, there was 1 on February 1st, 2025 at Living Realms in the EU that had 17 people. The 6 other local championships that hit 16 people were all OCE.
Was it
All
the store in
3
Spain?
No, in what?
OCE.
OCE.
Yeah. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Spain is not in Australia.
Okay, so
I don't-
they were both in the same region. I did not pocket watch to the level of seeing the overlap of all of the players from these, but all 3 local championships that Mundo Magic Games in OCE held this year hit 16 or more people, and all 3 local championships at Ateneo Comics in the same state as Mundo Magic Games. I don't know where they are. I didn't look on the map to see like how far away they are from each other, but so there's literally 1 region in OCE that everyone showed up to all of their local championships, and they had the most participation in local championships this season by far, by a massive margin.
They were the region also who only got 1 regional this year, right?
Yes.
So like we're basically already seeing what will happen next year is just kind of like these smaller tournaments are going to become the bigger things because that's all they get.
Yes, which is why I'm sort of optimistic for their competitive health, I guess. Obviously not having regionals sucks for them.
Yeah.
But
it's really lame. Yeah.
Yes. But I do think that UVS is attempting to make local championships mean more, because as I just spent 10 minutes explaining, currently I think they mean less than nothing, which is unfortunate.
Yes.
Because it means that the only tournament level that means anything is regionals. If local championships everywhere turn into these events that have people not like booking flights to, but making trips an hour, 2 hours away, if these events at Mundo Magic and Ateneo can reach 30, 40 people and be almost, I'm not gonna say almost on par with the regional, but if they can incentivize more people to attend, I don't think that's obviously a good thing, but it is unfortunate that it could come at the cost of other events. But
Yeah, obviously, like the major thing here is they're losing out on the regional like top cut promos and the
yes,
ability to be on backup cards, and like
which
that's something that I
I'm
feel like that could have been fixed, right? Like there's
I'm hoping
probably
it
a
will
way to
be.
do this.
That's kind of what I'm getting at is I'm hoping that because they're being so much more selective with their local championship kits, because they are only as of right now, there are only going to be 40 local championships per season. I would hope for these locals that have shown the players are committed and are willing to show up, I would hope that for something like Mundo Magic, they would send them like an enhanced tournament kit that would include some of the regional promos and stuff like that. That would be my hope, and that would be my suggestion. That obviously would not appease everyone, but I think is the path of least resistance of like something can be improved upon. And I think
For
it
sure.
would, right? And I don't really see a way that would be super expensive or like prohibitive from UVS Games side. And I also, would assume the players would appreciate still getting some of the promotional items, which to me at least is the thing that I think are the most cool about playing games, right? I personally don't put that much stake into like the direct monetary prizing because I feel like if I could be doing anything else with my time more or less.
Yes,
I really, really value I really, really value like the unique items, almost like like I view almost all of these regional promos sort of akin to like trophies. And I feel like if they really take stock of tournament attendance and they go, okay, the OCE players are really showing up to local championships. We're gonna send Mundo Magic and Ateneo Comics in their local championship kits. We're gonna send them one of the regional deck boxes, right? That we're giving out to Top Cut at the regionals. We're gonna send them, even a regional Top Cut playmat or something, right? And then the winner of the local championship can get the regional Top Cut prizing, and we'll send some regional promos for like top 8 as well. And I think that would be probably the first step that needs to be taken to like, if you cannot or will not do regionals for these regions, I do think that what you have to do is at least give them some of the prizing so they have access to it. And that would be my proposed, not solution, but my proposed like olive branch, right? Of like, we're not really giving up on your region. And if you can show up to these events, then support can still be there. So,
yeah, that would be at least a good ideal like start, right?
Yeah.
Because I think Mitch and I have been playing other card games recently and had the chance to travel a couple hours for like medium-sized events with good prize support, and it feels so good.
Yeah.
To like travel, compete on a level. It's like there's actually like 20 plus people showing up here, and people really want to win. And then like to do well and get rewarded for that is just incredible. And then like we love this game, and it looks like they're giving us that potential outlet next year, which is really exciting. Provided that they're able to do something for overseas, which right now that's kind of a question mark, but we'll see, right? Like it's still, they just announced it, so things could change. I remember when they claimed there would be like what draft or something for
yep, and that
regionals.
That sure
that
never
lasted
happened.
a week.
Sure never happened. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
So yeah.
Because currently, even just making top 4 of the LCs in EU and OCE, you get major round 1 buys, which the only major you have access to in theory is the championship at the end of the year. So if you just farm your local championship, so like if you're an Australian player and you decide this is my favorite game, I'm going to play no matter what, and you just pop off and you win 4 local championships and you win, $600 travel accommodation, and it pays for your travel or pays for a good chunk of your travel to go to the championship at the end of the year. Well, you have 4 major round 1 buys and you can catch in one of them, right? So that is like pretty irrelevant for them. And that would be something that I hope, again, like I hope they do some tweaking in the in the prizing. And that could even be the justification for sending EU and OCE some extra stuff, is they're like, well, OCE is not going to have major round 1 buys for losing in top 4, because why would we do that when you can't use them for anything? But you'll get a regional deck box or something, right? Like, you'll get something. You'll get a regional promo or something like that.
For sure.
And I think that would be like what you have to do. But
there has to be give and take to it.
Yes, we will see.
And NA people being upset about like, oh, they're getting extra. Who cares? Shut up, guys.
Literally,
You
who
guys already
cares?
get
Yeah, literally, who cares? You have tournaments. Who cares? Shut up.
Yeah.
Yeah, genuinely, if anyone complains about that, like, just get out of my sight, man.
Yeah.
Come on.
So, all right.
I'm optimistic though. I think like overall, this is like they are listening. Things are getting better. There's the question mark of overseas, but like this looks good. Like I'm happy the direction
100%.
Yeah. I think that just about does it. Yeah. So thank you all for listening. We do have now all of the Guilty Gear set. Next episode will probably be either right before Guilty Gear comes out, and we'll have had some time. Yeah, probably right before Guilty Gear comes out, and we'll have had some time to really play with some of the cards.
You'll just come back from Unplugged, so you'll have the pre-release experience.
Yeah, and I think we'll just have a pretty comprehensive take.
I'll be back from Scotland, I think, by the next episode.
Oh, yeah, we'll hear about how Deku won Scotland. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
about that.
I've sworn off Deku for at least the next event. In much the same way that I think that the deck that I played in the game that Wub and I played now, Grand Archive, makes me very good at that deck and very bad at the game Grand Archive. I think Deku, I am good at that one, and I'm getting worse at Universes. But yeah, I mean, like, you know, we'll have stuff to talk about next time, and you know, maybe they will announce more than just Glow Up Bulb in regards to the Borderlands cards.
Yeah.
So
thank you guys 5 minutes before we started recording, they made an ominous Borderlands threat on the UVS Facebook page.
Yeah.
It was like, something's coming, and it was just a Vault Hunter logo. We're like, oh, all right, well.
Okay, please, not just reskin characters.
Yes, please.
I'm begging. Yes.
Yes.
Oh my God!
Man.
Do you know how hard it would? Oh, dude. You know what? Free PR for you guys at UVS Games. Listen up. Get Guile into a Claptrap cosplay. He has the voice.
True, he does.
Hello, Vault Hunters, and then show us the characters. Do what you need to do.
All right, make it happen.
Make it happen.
All right.